Well, Mayor, a short meeting for once. Seems like we've had a string of long ones lately. A couple of things. It started off with some intergovernmental agreements. It didn't seem like they were too terribly involved, but still, if you could kind of go into those a little
Sure.
bit.
There's kind of routine agreements we have with other communities. Sometimes it makes sense to share equipment, and that's what we do sometimes. And this covers both sides, kind of puts in black and white what the responsibilities of each party is, and what the requirements are. And so we had our attorney draw this up mainly as a tool to protect us, against something going wrong. If they borrow a street sweeper or something like that, there's rules that we've got in place that say, okay, only our person will operate it or something like that, versus another piece of equipment where maybe their people are trained to operate it, and that's all spelled out.
Now, something happened in the Personnel Committee. There was a lot of discussion
Sure.
before the meeting, and then that led into the City Council meeting. Can you kind of go over what the whole situation is with that?
Well, short version of it is we had an employee thought she had another job at another place, did the proper thing that she didn't have to, but we're glad she did. She gave us a letter saying that she'll be leaving on a date certain, and then she found out that there had been some miscommunication. She talked to the people from the that offered her the position, and some things had changed. The facts were a little different than she understood them originally. And to make a long story short, she couldn't actually take that job, couldn't afford to. So she came back to the city and said, hey, if it's not too late, I'd like you to consider kind of tearing up my letter of retirement or a letter of resignation, and consider hiring me back again. And so that's the discussion we had tonight. Some of the aldermen were concerned that, if she was a union employee, for example, that might set a precedence that the union could later use in the future against us for some reason. She is not a union employee yet. She's a probationary employee, so I don't think we're going to have that problem. But those were some of the current concerns we had, and I think tonight we did go ahead and vote, and we will allow her to basically tear up her letter and continue as an employee with the city of Taylorville.
And it was language in the motion, in the written motion as well, that this is not some sort of precedence. There isn't a precedent set with this motion. It's kind of a one-time thing.
Exactly. And even though it probably doesn't apply, the union agreed that they would give us a letter stating that in a situation like this, it will not set a precedence.
All right. Another thing that you touched on, unfortunately, we had a death in the community. Can you touch on that a little?
Yeah, I was a former alderman and a well-known businessman in this area, Mr. Don Wareham. He runs the Wareham's Alarms, and he served as an alderman for several years. He was kind of the local champion. I don't know if people remember back then, but he ran on the fact that he had to get our taxes down. And the people responded to that and elected him in the position, and he worked very hard towards that goal. And so he did a very good job while he was here, and he did a very good job in his business. It's a well-respected business. His family continues that business today, and we just thought we owed him at least a moment of silence for what he'd done, not only for the city, but what he did as an alderman here as well.
Can you speak a little bit on your personal relationship with him?
Well, he was he was a good friend. Again, he was somebody that, like the rest of us, he cared deeply about the city and his concerns. And so, you have to admire that. I mean, he put in a lot of hours here, just like a lot of the other committee members here. There was nights where he'd be here 3, 4, 5 hours, trying to argue his point, argue for his constituents. And at that time, he got paid even less than they do today, I believe. So we thank him for what he's done.
A couple of community-related things going on. First of all, the city cleanup days that have been going on Saturdays, a big success. Can you discuss that a little?
Yeah, again, we've had a good response to that. We'd like it to be even better. This is a kind of a 1-month opportunity for anyone that's got stuff in their garage or around their house or something they want to get rid of, but they say, it's pretty expensive to, haul it up there and drop it off. There's a fee I have to pay. Well, for this month and this month only, on the Saturdays, they're waiving that fee. And so now's a good time to get your yard cleaned up, get your garage cleaned out, and drop it off at the city for no additional cost.
All right, and the last question, we do have another local candidate forum coming up here. This one for all, seems like all the other positions that are up for that local election. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there again, I just urge people to either attend in person, or watch it online, whatever they have to do. But you have to know what these employees or what these candidates, what their plan is, what their ideas are. Get a chance to find out what their experience is, what kind of talents they have, what they might do differently than what's being done now. Those are all things you may learn if you actually show up at the debate, the forum, and or watch it online.
And we'll be streaming that on News Talk WTIM. Mayor,
correct.
thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much.